Hey, what is up, mortals? It's TCCrew here, and welcome to part 8 of What If Deku was raised by Endeavour. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. And so we begin.
He cheated.
The villain hissed in childish rage. The pasty ne'er-do-well couldn't believe his eyes. This was the pinnacle of bioengineering, the very thing to rival All Might's sheer strength. There was no other explanation in the petulant malefactor's head. All Might had to have cheated. The villain began scratching himself incessantly. It was abundantly clear he had no plan for a loss. He had banked on Nomu's immediate success, and was completely blindsided when All Might made short work of the mutant. Rambling and muttering to himself, he had no idea whether to attack now in a fit of fury or flee before he faced the consequences. "What's wrong?" All Might's face boomed. It was the only thing to stop the cadaverous man from scratching himself. "Not attacking me? Didn't you say you were going to clear this level early?" The number 1 hero taunted. "Well, come and get me, if you dare!" The challenge alone caused the lead villain to stumble back. He wasn't prepared to fight All Might. Not without Nomu, and certainly not one-on-one. This sight was enough to both impress and comfort Bakugo and Shoto. However, something felt off to Midoriya, who had his eyes peeled on his idol. If All Might could, he would have made quick work of the villain and his smoky cohort. But he wasn't moving. He was just standing there. But why? It wasn't enough to cause any worry for the young green-haired boy at the moment, though. However, as he began regrouping with the other students, he overheard the malicious Mist speak to his boss. "Tomorrow Shigaraki, please do not fret," the Spectre said to his boss. So that was his name, Tomoro Shigaraki. "Look at him. He was definitely weakened." Izuku spun around to face them. It made sense now as to why All Might was moving to deliver the finishing blow. He couldn't. He spent far too much stamina on the mutant, and combined with his injuries, it was clear he was only bluffing to get them to back off. The green-haired student's anxiety came to the forefront. At the same time, Shigaraki's anxiety began to waver. It slowly began getting replaced with newfound confidence. His misty companion seemed to know just the right thing to say to calm his nerves. It didn't help that at the same time, their lowly minion slowly began to recover. Even with the loss of Nomu, things had begun looking up for Shigaraki and his army. "If you and I work together, we can do this," the smoky villain said to his superior. "We haven't missed our chance to kill All Might." With those words, Shigaraki dropped his hands to his side. No longer was he scratching his neck in impotent rage. He was actually calm.
Yeah,
The pasty criminal muttered.
you're right.
The petulant villain became resolute. The timing couldn't be more beneficial for the League of Villains.
This is it. We have no choice.
Shigaraki growled.
We have to do this now.
The pale villain's eyes narrowed in concentration. He was willing to risk everything on this next move. At the same time, his cronies had all but recovered. Each of the formerly downed delinquents were back on their feet, and just as pumped as ever. Bakugo and Shoto averted their attention from the two main villains, and focused on the ones mere feet from them. "Come on, Deku!" Shoto demanded, albeit impassively. "Help us fight these delinquents!" There was no answer from the green-haired boy. He was zoned in on All Might standing off against Shigaraki. It was like he was watching a cowboy and an outlaw having their last stand in a spaghetti western film. The area around them was dense. The atmosphere thickened so much it became almost palpable. Without warning, the pale criminals began sprinting at the number 1 hero, and even still, All Might didn't move. It was clear Midoriya had to do something. Sprinting forward, the fury green-haired lad jumped upwards and began propelling himself through the air using his fire quirk. "What?" Shoto choked out. "God damn it, Izuku!" Though Midoriya heard his adoptive brother's annoyance, it was too late. He was already mid-air and barreling towards the black mist. If he could just direct his fire towards the metal apparatus, it would surely put the criminal out of commission. Unfortunately, the villain had grown wise to that trick. Noticing the young boy flying towards him, he opened up a warp gate to his side. At the same time, Shigaraki pushed his hand through the portal. It was reaching for Midoriya's face. It was at this moment the green-haired boy realized his error in rushing head-on. Cackling filled the boy's ears as the cadaverous malefactor's hand inched closer and closer towards him. He knew exactly what getting grabbed entailed, but he was too close to turn away or drop downwards. There was nothing Izuku could do. No escape from this. He was certain this was the end of him. That would be, of course, had a bullet not pierced Shigaraki's hand. A loud bang, followed by the lead villain's hand blowing open, would save the green-haired boy from an untimely demise. Following this, Shigaraki quickly pulled his hand back through his end of the warp gate and leapt backwards. "They arrived!" All Might said in relief. Pouring in through the gate were the pro heroes that worked for UA. Among them were Midnight, Gunhead, President Mike, and Principal Nezu, as well as a great many others. In that group was class representative Tenya Ida as well. He returned to help his fellow classmates alongside the pros. In an act of desperation, the 2-bit thugs began rushing up the stairs to attack the UA High teachers. This was met by an uncharacteristically deep pan. President Mike stepped up to the front. As the villains began making a mad dash up the stairs, the heroic DJ took in a deep breath.
Yeah!
President Mike screeched. The sheer volume of his voice, thanks to his quirk, effortlessly sent the horde of delinquents flying from them. Those that didn't fly away from them were surely deafened. Up next was the pro hero, Ectoplasm. Opening his jagged mouth, a thick, viscous goo began shooting out. Before long, the slime formed into a legion of clones. The duplicates of Ectoplasm flew towards the various ne'er-do-wells and made quick work of the ones that weren't dispatched due to President Mike's quirk. It was too late for the villains. The pros had already shown up. He couldn't do the one thing he went to the USJ to do, nor could he kill any of the students. He had failed. The black mist opened up a warp gate. It was time for the two to go home. Before they did, Shigaraki had one last thing to say.
I may have failed to kill you this time, All Might.
The villain hissed.
But your days are numbered, All Might. Symbol of peace. I'm going to kill you.
And with that, Shigaraki and his cohort had vanished. Not a trace of either of them remained. As the villain and his cohort had vanished into thin air, the students were left dumbfounded and stunned. Even the likes of Bakugo, Shoto, and Zaiku were left in complete awe. It was on that day that the students realized what the pros protect them from every day. It was a revelation they weren't prepared for, but they nonetheless learned it. The class of 1A could do nothing but stand in veneration as the heroes cleaned up the unconscious bodies of the thugs that laid before them. It wouldn't be long before they woke up, so they'd need to be restrained as soon as they were able. Thoughts raced through the school children's heads. Some were of relief, while others were of dread. What if All Might hadn't showed up when he did? What if the pros hadn't either? It was the collective combination of reassurance and disquietude that kept the children stiff in their tracks. Young Midoriya laid on the ground, adjacent to his idol. He turned his head towards All Might. Was he okay? Did he accidentally sing him with his fire? The next thing the Viridine-haired boy would see would petrify him far more than anything today had. What stood before him was a half-muscular, half-emaciated man. One part of his hair was that of All Might he knew, but the other was raggedy. Midoriya went pale at this sight. Did that Shigaraki guy get his hands on All Might after all? No, it was apparent Tomura's quirk turned people into dust. It didn't shrivel them up. And Midoriya knew enough about fire to know that it didn't wilt people like that either. However, before Izuku could even get a peep out, All Might placed a finger upon his own mouth.
Shh! Keep it down.
The number one hero exclaimed in hushed urgency. This was disconcerting to the young boy. He had never seen All Might in a level of vulnerability, and yet there he was, cadaverous and desperate. This shook the poor boy to his core. With an exhale, the number one lowered his head in shame. Are you done laying on the ground, Deku? Shoto asked sardonically. Midoriya was conflicted. What had happened to All Might?
We can talk about this later, young Midoriya. Please just go back with your friends.
All Might pleaded. It was apparent the shriveled number one didn't want the confused green-haired boy to tell anyone. Slowly getting up to his feet, Midoriya gave All Might a long, hard look. How did he get like this? He was a proud obelisk of a man not a few minutes ago, yet here he was now, half of his body completely atrophied. Midoriya then made his way back to Bakugo and Shoto, to which he was met with a stern rap on the head by his adoptive brother.
You idiot!
Shoto hissed.
What you did was seriously reckless. What would have I told father if he had gotten killed?
Given Shoto's track record with the green-haired boy, Midoriya had no clue if he was genuinely worried or simply taking frustration out on him. Nonetheless, he did raise a good point. Endeavour had been nothing but kind to Midoriya, which was evidently strange and uncharacteristic considering his seeming lack of regard for his other children. In any case, Izuku was still hung up on the vestige of All Might's shriveled body. It was like something out of a fever dream to the boy. As the students made their way outside, the police began to arrive and arrest the thugs that had been taken out by the pro-heroes. One of the detectives took account of the students of 1A. Everyone had appeared to be uninjured. As the students were getting ready to board the bus, Bakugo stepped up behind Midoriya.
Hey, Deku. No, Midoriya.
The yellow-haired delinquent sounded softer than he usually did. This was enough to get his fury classmates' attention alone.
Look, I didn't mean what I said to spread around. As far as I know, someone was eavesdropping, or that Uraraka broad couldn't keep her damn mouth shut.
A silence befell the two students. It was a lot to take in for Midoriya. He was clearly taken aback by Katsuki's vaguely remorseful tone of voice.
Look, that's my apology. Take it if you want. Don't if you don't. I don't really care.
The explosive lad then began to shove Midoriya out of the way as he cut in line for the bus, attempting to escape what he had perceived to be an awkward situation.
Wait, Kachan!
Midoriya called out to Bakugo. This sense of informality was enough to catch his attention this time. He slightly turned his head to face his once meek childhood rival.
You know, Deku's just fine.
Bakugo stood there, staring at Midoriya for a bit. After what seemed like forever to both of them, the delinquent released a scoff along with a small smirk.
Damn nerd,
Bakugo said in response before boarding the bus. Though the pair of kids couldn't explain why, they felt as though a massive weight had been lifted from their chests. Meanwhile, however, evil was still brewing. In the slums of Mustafu, Kurogiri and Shigaraki materialized inside a derelict bar. The pasty criminal strew about on the floor, staining the floorboards with his crimson liquid. However, the only thing to overshadow the pain of being shot in both arms and legs was the rage of his defeat. This was his first battle, and he lost outright. It was biting and infuriating to Tomura. However, there was one thing that made Shigaraki angrier than anything else.
The symbol of peace wasn't Wiccan at all. You were wrong, Master. So wrong.
As the pale villain screamed his lament, he looked up at the TV screen. Displayed were bright purple letters that read, "Sound only."
No, I wasn't. We just weren't as prepared as we should have been.
The voice from the television screen said. Another more elderly voice responded in agreement, stating his gratitude in losing under their alias, League of Villains, and not their own. However, they both expressed confusion over the absence of Nomo and asked about his whereabouts.
He was blown away,
The viscous miasma said in response.
It was All Might's doing. Without coordinates to his precise location, I could not use my warp to bring him with us.
The more elderly voice responded in exasperation and disbelief. He was clearly distraught over the effort they put in to make him as strong as All Might. Though Shigaraki's master responded in mere inconvenience. Shigaraki expressed rage, however, specifically at the fiery green-haired boy that got in his way of killing All Might. Shigaraki's faceless master, however, only had reassuring words for his underling. That next time, Shigaraki will show the world why it should fear him. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series, guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We Celestial Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel already, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. Secondly, on behalf of We Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We Celestial, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being, we only accept members 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be, whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have a great day.